MLA format, here we go. All right, just a couple things about setting up your paper in MLA format first, including overall formatting and setting up your heading correctly if you're unfamiliar with the process, is reminding you that the textbook tells you how to do this stuff. So in Practical Argument, page 344 to 351, you will see the MLA guidelines as well as the MLA sample paper. So here is a docs version of the sample paper. You can see here how the heading is set up. So you'll have your name, the instructor's name, the course that you're in. This will be Composition 1030 or ENGL 1030, Composition 2, whatever. The date will have the number first, the month spelled out, and then followed by the year. You'll see up here in the top right, last name and page number. And then here in the middle is the title. The paper comes right underneath it. Depending on the type of paper, you may also have headings within or headers within each section, so that will depend on your particular assignment. The whole paper's in Times New Roman 12-point font. Scrolling through, you can see throughout some in-text citations in MLA format. So you have signal phrase according to the New York Times. Here's the quote, here's the citation. You have some paragraphs here with some synthesis going on, multiple citations within the same paragraph. So you can sort of see how the in-text citations are working. We will also be using this example paper to look at the very end at the works cited page and how that's set up, and we'll take a look at that as we continue. So again, please review those guidelines in the textbook. So for creating the MLA Works Cited page, the Works Cited page goes on the end of your paper. It's actually part of your paper. It just begins at the end, right? So after you finish up your conclusion, at the top of the next page of your paper comes the Works Cited page. It's a list of all the sources that you've actually used and cited in your paper. So it's the works that you've cited throughout the paper. Everything you cite needs to appear on that Works Cited page. And everything on the Works Cited page needs to be something that you actually cited throughout the paper. And it's important to do that so that your readers could find the sources if they wanted to, and also so that you're giving proper credit to the sources that you used and cited throughout your paper. So the formatting basics are, it's on the same doc as your essay. You title it Works Cited, so the next page just up in the middle will say Works Cited. It's double spaced throughout, no extra spaces between each Works Cited entry. The font size, color, and font itself stays the same as throughout the whole document, so you don't make it bigger, you don't change the font. Very important is that the sources appear in alphabetical order, because that makes it easier for your reader to find the source they're looking for if they'd like more information. And you use what's called a hanging indent. So let's take another look at the sample paper here. You can see it just follows the paper. So you notice even though this one ends pretty high up here, the top of the next page is where you see the Works Cited page. You will also see they are in alphabetical order by the first letter of whatever would come first in the citation. Notice this one doesn't have an author, in which case what would come first is not an author, it's the title of the particular article. So we alphabetize by the N, since there's no author there, and here by the O, since there's no author in that one. And then we have a hanging indent here. So the first, unlike a paragraph, it's actually the opposite of a paragraph. The first line is all the way over to the left, and then the subsequent lines of the same citation are tabbed over. Now this can be tricky to do because sometimes if you try to do it and you hit tab, it will tab the wrong thing. It thinks that you don't know what you're doing, right? So what you want to do is put your cursor here, click enter, and then tab over the next line. You can also go up to format and go to paragraph style. Oh, here we go, align and indent. Then indentation options, there is an option for hanging indent, and you can do that and it will apply to your Works Cited page. So that's a trick if you cannot get your lines to tab over correctly. So there's the Works Cited page, and if you notice, each of these should be cited in the paper. So if I were to do Control F, Command F on a Mac here, and I type in Friedman, I can see that Friedman is used here. Friedman is cited several times throughout the paper, in fact. So we include it here, right? So anything included in the paper goes on the Works Cited page. Now, how do you actually build those works cited entries with the different sources within them? Well, once again, the textbook is an excellent resource. It's very easily organized. Beginning on page 331, you have the section Preparing the Works Cited list that talks you through all the different types of sources you might encounter and what to do in special circumstances. So there may be circumstances like more than one author, no author listed. The textbook has those as examples. Additionally, you can always use Google. Google MLA 8 two authors and make sure you have a reliable source like a university website. But for the most part, that's a good way to figure it out if you can't find it in your textbook, if you've already tried your textbook. Most of what you'll be using for this paper are internet sources. So you'll see on page 331, the guidelines for citing a website or an internet source of a different type begin. So the basic setup is the author comes first, then the title of the article, then the name of the website the article was published on, the date of the article, or if there's no specific article date, the date the site was last updated, and then you do include the URL. So it looks like this. In this case, there's no author. The author is more like an institution. And then you have, so this is like the name of the site itself. Here you have the article within the site, the overall like sponsoring. This is the name of the sponsor, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Here's the date the article was published or the site was updated, and finally the URL. So the textbook tells us how to cite an article in an online scholarly journal. So if you did a library search and you found something that would be considered a scholarly journal, the author's name, last name, comma, first name, period. You even want to get the punctuation correct. The title of the article in quotations, what it was published in, so the journal title itself, volume and issue number, the date. Often your date will have more than just the year, so it just depends on how the journal formats dates, and then the URL of the thing. Now, a lot of what you will have is more like a newspaper article accessed online. So if you have something from NPR, New York Times, or Forbes, it'll look like this. Author's last name, comma, first name, the title of the article. Notice every big word in the article is capitalized, even if the original source didn't do it. Here in italics, we have the New York Times. So that'll be in italics, you'll have Forbes or you'll have NPR, whatever the overall website or overall web newspaper is called. Here's the date it was published. Notice the formatting of the date. And then here comes the URL with a period on the end. So that'll be mainly, these will be the main types of sources you will have for this. So let's look at an example. If we were going to cite this article, The Healing Power of Hip Hop, we would want to look and see who the authors are. So there's two authors here. So we're going to list Crook, comma, Alexander and Raphael Travis Jr., period. Then we're going to use the title of the article itself. Even though it's not capitalized, we're going to capitalize it. The title of the article is going to go in quotes. Then we're going to put the title of the overall website, the conversation, and that's going to go in italics. We're going to look for a date next. So this one happens to have a publishing date, but we're not just going to copy and paste this because it's in the wrong order. We're going to put the number first, July 2017, just like we're told to do. And then finally, we're going to grab the URL and add it to it so that it's formatted like a newspaper article accessed online or magazine article accessed online. These are pretty much the same type of format. Now you may be wondering, can I use a citation site, Son of Citation, EasyBib? The answer is yes, but very carefully. So oftentimes these can be good tools, but sometimes it's very easy to get the formatting incorrect. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to go to easybib.com. So first of all, it can be kind of hard to navigate these a little bit, but you want to find the citations menu. From here, you can choose the type of thingy that you want to cite. So we're going to go to website. I'm going to put in The Healing Power of Hip Hop, see if somebody else has cited this. Search. No, this is actually the book, but here we go. Here's the article, The Healing Power of Hip Hop. So one thing is, it might suggest something to you that's not actually correct. It's not really the source that you're looking for, so you want to be careful there. If I click Cite here, It's asking, here's the, look, see, it put the whole name in the last name box. So I'm still going to have to fix it. Put Crook here. Put Raphael, Travis, Jr. Okay, let's see here. The conversation, that's correct. That's all good. Okay, complete. Now, one thing you want to be really careful of is, did this do it in MLA? So, for example, postdoctoral research fellow in music therapy, that's not something that's included in MLA. So, how do I get this to actually go into MLA 8? Style, here we go. Okay. Oh, it's in MLA 8, but it's still not correct because we don't include those types of things in MLA 8. So it's not done it absolutely correctly. So you always want to keep your brain on, basically, is what I'm telling you here. And then the other thing is, like if we were going to add this citation here. So I've got it. I've got it from the website. I'm going to paste it in. There we go. It's formatted incorrectly. Sometimes it shows up gray instead of black. So you want to always double check. It's not, we would have to come in here, Crook, Alexander, Raphael, Travis Jr. That looks correct. We're good from there. It's not in hanging indent though, so I'm going to need to move it over. So in other words, you always want to double check it against the textbook. Did it do it correctly? Did you actually click MLA 8? Sometimes it automatically goes to APA. A lot of times when students have errors on their works cited pages, it's because they used a citation site that did not cite it correctly. So keep your brains on as you use tools like that.